Many of us, when we were little kids, we were often asked what we want to be when we grow up, what we do want to take a career for, what university do we want to go to, and many of these questions. Many of us had the answer for these questions. Some of us wanted to go for business, some of us wanted to go for music, some of us wanted to be teachers or doctors, and some others didn't have the answer for that question. Well, that's my case. As you all know, my name is Sandra Kaplan. I'm 24 years old, and I was born in Colombia. I graduated from high school in my country, my native country, and before that, every time somebody asked me what would I want to be, what would I want to do in my life, I really didn't know. The only thing I knew is I wanted to learn another language, and that language was English. I also knew I wanted to come to the United States to make that possible. But of course, I never knew if my parents were going to approve. I never knew if they were going to have the money for it. I was never sure if I could ever make it. But fortunately, my parents were very supportive of it. And 4 months before I graduated high school, my mother came to the United States so she could get a job and an apartment for when I came here. I came here 4 months after I graduated. And as soon as I got here, I saw that my mother was working really, really hard to support the both of us. So instead of studying English, I just decided to get a job. She didn't approve, and she was like, no, you have to go to school, you have to go to school, that's what you came here for. So she enrolled me in this little institution. It's like an English center, like an English learning center. It's called UCIDA. So I went there, but eventually I got a job at a supermarket, a Spanish supermarket, because it was hard to get a job when you didn't know English. But fortunately, I went to this little Spanish supermarket and they gave me a job. Okay, I was studying and working at the same time, but I was working so much that every time I went out of work, I was just like tired, so I just stopped going to school, or sometimes I will have to work double shifts, and my priority of going to school just went down. I just stopped going to school. It wasn't a priority for me anymore. 2 years after we were here, my mother found out that my grandfather had cancer. So she decided to leave. She wanted to stay with him because he was an old guy and stuff. So I decided that I wasn't going to go back. I was already 18 and I hadn't accomplished my goal. So I told her I'm going to stay. Of course, she didn't want me to stay, but she talked to a cousin of mine who lives here in the United States also. And they made an agreement and she let me stay at her house, rent a house at her, rent a little room at her house. So I stayed there. That motivated me. I finished my English classes at that little school that I was going to. And after that, I became interested in pursuing a career here in the United States. So I actually went to UCC in Elizabeth, the campus in Elizabeth, and they told me that I had to take a test because I wasn't an English native speaker. So I took the test. Unfortunately, I was placed on the last level, the 6th level. So I took it, and after I finished with that and had my certificate of ESL, I tried to pursue a career, but I realized it was too expensive and I couldn't afford it. So I was depressed. Just being away from my family was hard enough, and the little goals that I set for me were becoming impossible. So I just decided to go back to my country, and a few months before I made the decision, I met this guy. His name is Neil Kaplan. I fell in love with him and eventually got married. I actually got married to him last year in February. And since then, my life changed a lot. He helped me a lot with this of going back to school, and now I'm pursuing a career. I want to be a dental hygienist. And in conclusion, even though I have many obstacles with this, with my goals, and when you think that all the doors are closed for you, there is always another one that opens and is way better. So never give up.